Mr. Gatto? Mr. Gatto? Don't I have to connect, and then I got the beep boop
Speeding
beep.
across the lake.
Why don't we just call Joe from this? We've only got one.
Shows.
Did we get him?
Not yet.
We're waiting to wire in a few of our colleagues that are not available in person tonight. Give us just another minute and we will start.
Skip. He wants you.
More neat. Better. Pianist.
What's that?
Mr. Gatto?
Here.
Can you hear me?
He's up in the middle of nowhere.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Hear me?
Tell him we lost.
Not very well. We'll go ahead, though.
Christine, I sent that email
Is that better?
to City Box.
Yeah, that's a little better.
Linda, do you want us to stand when it's your turn?
No.
We ready? Too loud? Should I lower that? I speak louder than Frank.
Maybe.
Good afternoon, everyone. Before we begin the Des Moines City Council meetings, we take time for a message from one of our council members. Tonight, it's Council Member Linda Westergaard. And Linda, we appreciate you starting off our meeting.
Great, thank you. You do not have to stand. Tonight it'll be Heavenly Father, thank you for your many blessings and for all the opportunity to serve all the citizens of Des Moines. Help all of us on this city council to act with character, to listen with understanding, and to speak with kindness. Show us how to be good leaders and help us to see the dignity of those who disagree with us. Give us the wisdom and strength to help build a better community. We ask these things in your name, amen.
Thank you all for being here in person and those watching at home. We appreciate the interest and concern about your city. Mr. Gatto, Councilman Gatto, is on the phone and participating, and Mayor County is traveling and is going to call in from a layover that he has, but right now he is unavailable, so we will wire him in a minute. With that, we'll begin the meeting for tonight with the roll call.
Coleman?
Here.
Moore?
Here.
Gray?
Here.
Westergaard?
Here.
Hensley? Here. Gatto?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Item 2 is approving the agenda as presented and/or as amended. Is there a
move.
motion to approve the agenda? Christine has moved it. All those in, do we need a motion? Or
Voice vote on this.
voice vote? All those in favor of item 2? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
6 yes?
Thank you. Item 3 is approving the consent agenda. And for those here in the audience that may want to speak to an issue on our agenda, in one vote, we will approve items 3 through 48 on your agenda with these exceptions. On counts on number 4E and 4U, Coleman wishes to speak. On 4U, Hensley as well wishes to speak. On item 5, County and Moore vote no. On item 10, Councilmember Moore votes no. On item 15, Councilmember Moore and Westergaard wish to speak. On item 33I, Councilmember Moore votes no. On item 44D, Councilmember Moore wishes to speak.
Mayor Pro Tem.
We will hold those, yes.
I'd like to strike that last one, 44D.
So 44D will no longer be pulled off. Thank you, Councilmember Moore. So we will approve that in this motion. Is there anyone here in the audience that would like to speak on any items that are agenda numbers 3 through 48 that have not already been pulled off? Seeing none, I would accept a motion for item 3. The consent agenda has been moved. All those in favor, aye? Oh, I'm sorry, we got to vote, push the buttons. This is on our consent agenda.
Councilmember Gatto votes yes.
6 yes?
That takes us to the items within the consent agenda that were pulled. I pulled up count number 4E, which is a license for Tipsy Crow Tavern at 102 3rd Street. It's a Class C liquor license for a restaurant down there. I pulled it off because over the last several weeks, over months actually, I've been talking a little bit about the difference in regulations between a bar and a restaurant. I think there should be a brighter line between those. And we have a couple new restaurants on the agenda tonight that I've had some concerns over. I've met with our council about it. While I'm uncomfortable, I do recognize that some of the things that I'm uncomfortable with require a change in state law, not just city council policy. But I remain uncomfortable. We do have a speaker, Mr. McFadden. Would you like to speak?
I'm just here to answer any questions you might have.
All right.
I think I've presented with you the menus and things of that sort in pictures recently, so.
I do appreciate that. It looks like a good menu, and you've done a first-class job of rehabbing it or developing it. I don't know if you've seen it down there, but it is very nice. My issue has to do with the difference between a restaurant and a bar, and I think I've shared that with you and your attorney. I would just say for the record, and then I would accept a motion here. As I think you're aware, there have been allegations made that some bars and restaurants in particular have worked around the spirit of our law, may not have worked around the specific language of the law, but in the coming weeks, I think the city attorney is going to tighten the rules in the city of Des Moines to match state law. And that has to do with this. When anybody sells an alcoholic drink, I believe the entire drink should be rung up as an alcoholic drink. A gin and tonic shouldn't be $5 for tonic and $1 for gin, or a screwdriver, orange juice is much more than the vodka. I think you ring it up, and within our regulations, that is what has to accommodate the 50% or more from non-alcohol sales. And I think some institutions have worked around it by segmenting those costs. I'm not in a position to say that you have. I will tell you, it's been on my radar screen because others have said that other establishments work that way with the cash register system. And I just want you to know, my expectation is that when we change that rule, which I hope we do very soon, that every existing license operates that way. And I hope that as we work through the first 6 months of your operation, that you are prepared, open, and transparent for an audit of that. Because as you know, you've applied for a restaurant, not a bar, and that comes with a different set of regulations and opportunities, quite frankly. So I don't know if you want to respond to that or see if anybody else has questions.
I don't know how to respond to it, to be honest with you. We have a full menu for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We certainly are going to be very aggressive in trying to serve as many breakfasts, lunches, and dinners as we can. I know that if there becomes an issue where, and downtown's difficult. I mean, it's just a lot of younger kids go down there to drink, and I know that if we have trouble, getting within those percentages, that we're prepared to come back to council and ask for a variance and or some other sort of solution for that.
I'm not sure that we'd be willing to give a variance, so hopefully you don't have to do that.
Right.
Mr. Colby, can I ask a question, please?
Yes, Councilmember Gatto.
Just what is the hours of operation that your kitchen will be open?
Well, I think he asked what the hours of operation
Yes,
were.
I'm sorry.
I mean, our intention is to be a bar and grill, like many of the competitors right around there, and we would be open till 2, or we'd close if there wasn't enough business, of course, but we'd be open till 2 a.m.
So your kitchen will be open. You said breakfast. What time will your kitchen open?
Yeah, our kitchen will open on Saturdays at the latest would be 9 a.m. for a brunch, and on Sundays as well. And then the kitchen would remain open till probably 1:30, 2 in the morning.
Okay, and is that 7 days a week, or what? I mean, what's the hours of operation for your kitchen?
Good question. The kitchen will be open. The operation, including the kitchen, will be open 11 a.m. Monday through Friday, and then as no later than 9 a.m. on Saturday and Sunday.
So 11 a.m. until 2 o'clock in the morning, your kitchen will stay open the entire time. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct.
Mr. McFadden?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay.
I'll let anybody speak, but Christine should have the first shot.
I want to ask the question again that I asked last time. Are you going to be the sole owner, or do you have investors with you?
I have no investors in this operation.
Anybody else?
I just got one question. When you say you got a full restaurant open, you don't shut off at midnight and pizza only after that? It's a full service? Everything on the menu can be ordered?
Of course, the breakfast menu would be limited till 2 p.m. on Saturdays and Sundays, but the same menu from 11 a.m., because that's when our lunch menu starts, will go till 2 a.m. as well. Yep, same menu.
Okay.
And I think I provided council, I'm not sure if it got distributed, but our menu, and that doesn't include our daily features as well.
He did send me his menu. Let me see if I can't find a picture of it, because I didn't send that on to anybody else. I wasn't sure.
Can you put it on the overhead so I can see it?
I'll try here.
Nice shorts.
Yeah.
That's the front side of the menu.
Yeah, I got it. You want to explain it at all?
You know, I don't know what to really explain. There's appetizers, burgers, sandwiches. We have tacos, salads. We have the side menus, and then we always introduce daily features as well. You know, fresh made features. So, and all our food's made fresh daily there. So there's a lot of prep and stuff involved as well.
Joe, could you see that?
I haven't yet because you guys are on a time delay, so I'm sure here in a couple of minutes it'll pop up. But that's fine. I get the gist of it. Your kitchen's going to be open a long time. That's a lot of hours for. And so you can change that at any time, is what you're saying.
Was there a question? I couldn't hear him.
I think his point was that's a lot of hours to be open, and you could change it at any time, and we don't have control over that.
Yeah, I see it.
Christine, do you have a motion? Or does anybody else have questions?
I'll move item 4E.
I'll vote yes.
Five yes, one no.
5 yes, 1 no. The next agenda item is 4U. Councilmember Hensley wished to speak on that.
This is a transfer of a license from over on Douglas to down at 508 Indianola Road. And as we all know, there have been ongoing issues related to a lot of parking related issues. I'm prepared to make a motion to approve, but what I'd like to ask, and I think that the property owners discussed this with you, is that you agree to do a good neighbor agreement that would really address the parking issues so that there's a clear understanding before you actually start operations as to how the parking should work and where you can and cannot park. So
And also-
based upon past performance and issues that we've had with the building, and you're comfortable with that?
Yes. Also, we was wondering somehow that we could get the bridges reopened at night.
Cedric, can you speak up a little bit?
Get the bridges open at night like it used to be when I was younger. Used to be able to park on each side of the bridge from like 6 at night, 6 in the morning. And there was no parking issues back in them days.
I know that we had that discussion and we did not take any action on that for a variety of reasons. So you can raise that issue when you sit down with staff to do the good neighbor agreement, but I don't know that we'll be able to go that route. So we'll have to look at maybe some other parking options. Okay. So my motion would be to move item 4U with an understanding that you'll sit down with staff and do the good neighbor as it relates to parking. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. If you could stay there for just a minute. Christine talked about the parking, which I think is important over the, I've had a chance to tour the place. I work with somebody that's friends and associates of these guys, and they're pretty excited, and I've eaten at their restaurant on Douglas, and it's great food. The south side will love it. I do believe you've made some commitments or at least understanding of some issues like security personnel after a certain hour, keeping your restaurant open until the place closes, some of the things that we talked about before. And so long as we can have a good neighbor agreement on those things and include them, to the satisfaction of the police department and city attorney, and Christine that represents the area, I'd like to be a part of that. I can support it because we'll have that in place. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you and good luck.
Thank you.
Can I just ask a question? It's kind of the same question that I had before. What's their hours of operation for the kitchen?
Bernice? His question was, what are your hours of operation overall, and what are the hours of the kitchen?
The hours of operation to be 11 to 2 in the morning. The kitchen to be open until 1:30.
Joe, were you able to
Excellent.
hear that?
Yep, excellent. Well, we're excited to have you. We need good barbecue on the south side, so I will vote yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good luck.
So I think I failed to actually read that action, but it is a transfer of a liquor license for Fat Daddy's Barbecue.
Six yes.
Thank you. That takes us to agenda item 15. Council members Moore and Westergaard wish to speak about it. Item 15 is removing the accent neighborhood from the list of recognized neighborhoods. Council member?
Yes, thank you. I would just like to ask that we vote against this tonight. I am not in favor of removing the accent neighborhood from the recognized neighborhoods. I have met with Chris Johansson. I have visited with other people in the neighborhoods, and I would just ask that if anything, we put this neighborhood on, just suspend it for right now, give me time to reach out and work with everyone and see what we can do. We have another neighborhood that butts up to this neighborhood that is interested in organizing. I visited with Chris Johansson. We talked about, maybe we could combine this and make it a little bit bigger neighborhood. And I just want to say, when I've been involved in the neighborhood group for 20 years, I helped start my own neighborhood association 20 years ago. And the neighborhood associations look very different today than they did 20 years ago. 20 years ago, we used to go to a copy machine and copy the newsletters, and we used to hand deliver them to about 1,500 residents in my neighborhood. We don't need to do that anymore. We've got Facebook, we have social media, we have a different way to reach the neighborhood now. So we just need to take a look at how our neighborhoods are functioning, what works, what doesn't work, and let's just put this on hold, suspend it, and give me time to work on it. In the meantime, if there are notifications that need to go out, the city can contact me. I'm the ward council person. I know a lot of the people I can reach, the population that we need to reach. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Moore, you also asked to speak.
Yeah, I'm going to support Linda's motion. When you read the policy that the city council set up under loss of neighborhood recognition, the only way they can lose their recognition is if they fail to return their survey. They did return a survey by the due date, so I'm going to agree with the suspension. I do know in one of their last meetings there was a young man who wanted to be chair, and he was told he couldn't be chair because of the bylaws. But nobody else wanted to be chair, So, when all else fails, you do the best you can, and I think they should have elected him chair, and hopefully he'll step forward now, and I'd hate to see us lose this neighborhood, and then they turn around and reform, and they have to jump through all the hoops again. I think it'd be unnecessary.
Thank you.
So I would make a motion to deny that request.
Could I have you give us expectation of how much time you'd like that to?
Give me 2 months.
So the motion would be to suspend the neighborhood from the list of recognized neighbors for 60 days.
To,
To suspend
Linda, why
rather
don't you do
than
6
remove.
months, just in case?
okay.
Do you want to go for 6?
Let's go to 6 months.
Yeah.
So it's still there, it's just not active.
Does that help?
That helps.
Any other speakers? We have a motion on the floor. Let's vote.
Just to suspend them for 6 months, give them a chance to reorganize.
Bill
I
went
will
through a
vote
similar
to
thing with
support
Meredith.
Councilmember West.
Yep. Yep, that's exactly what we had to do.
We just need more time.
Okay,
6 yes?
the motion passes. That then completes our consent agenda, which takes us to item 49, if you're following along on your agendas. And 49 is amending Chapter 114 of the Municipal Code regarding traffic regulation changes as follows. A is parking meter updates around the new Hy-Vee store at 4th and Court. B is parking restriction modifications due to Crocker Street restriping from 15th to 19th. C is Southwest 42nd Street, no parking anytime. D is modifications to the Brook Landing, Plat 1. E is code modifications related to Bloomfield Acres. F is code modifications related to the Southeast 3rd Street improvement projects. G is code modifications related to the vacation of East Granger Avenue. And H is parking restriction modifications on 25th Street north of University Avenue. Any comments or a motion?
Seeing none, I'll move item 49A through H, and I would request we waive the second and third reading since there's nobody here.
So the motion is to complete this tonight.
Correct.
Yes.
6 yes?
So it has received final approval. That takes us to item 50, amending chapters 3 and 114 of the Municipal Code regarding state income tax offset program. Comments or a motion? Anybody from the audience?
I'll move item 50.
Thank you. It's been moved. Any other comments, discussion? Let's vote. Item 50.
Yes.
6 yes?
Thank you. That takes us to item 51, and this is a communication, a request to speak from Mary Ann Spicer of 6001 Creston Avenue, Unit 8, to speak regarding concerns in the vicinity of River Oaks Townhomes at 6001 Creston Avenue. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris. If I could, I do have handouts for the council, so I won't have to read everything because I trust your intelligence. Thank you.
Move to receive and file.
Thank you. It's been, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? The motion passes to receive your staff.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Councilman. Mary Ann Spicer, 6001 Creston Avenue, Unit 8, Des Moines. I rise to present to the council issues related to property owned by taxpayers of River Oaks Townhomes at 6001 Creston Avenue in Des Moines. Let me thank the council for considering updating some improvements along the Southwest 63rd corridor. On July the 9th, 2009, 20 or more residents from River Oaks Townhomes presented issues of concerns to this council. I see there are only 2 of those members remaining, Chris and Chris, but the rest of you are brand new. I particularly sent emails to council members to inform you of some historical information, those that were brand new, particularly wanted to hear from our council members at large. And I thank you, Chris Coleman, for responding very much. I didn't hear from you, Skip, but maybe I'll hear from you in the future. 10 years later, the street light, because of high density, is being installed. We appreciate that. Street signage has recently been structured to show the street division along Highway 28, which is the southwest 63rd corridor. Now, yet a bigger issue has been addressed, which may be cost prohibitive to residents of River Oaks Townhome. The river is eating away part of the riverbank at the south corridor of the townhomes. I would like to request that the City Council make recommendation for the city engineer, who I have been in discussion with, to open discussion with River Oaks Townhome Center as it relates to the river sewer problem, and some sort of joint proactive strategic plan be presented to the city on how to deal with the situation. We got some real issues, and they've had several engineers and companies come out and survey that particular land. We have one building that is in danger. If the river continues to eat away at the core of that southern section of the building, members who own that property stand a chance of losing some of their property to the river. I would also like to request that River Oaks be allowed to form a neighborhood watch program due to the high volume of residents now living in the area, and that police surveillance be increased in a similar fashion as what's being done in the Beaverdale area. If you consider this request, we would appreciate it. Thank you very much for your attention. Mary Ann Spicer, River Oaks Townhomes. Thank you.
Mary Ann, are you on the board for the?
I was on the board, but I do have a board member. If she could come and stand beside me and answer a question, that would be Audrine Hanson. She's here. And we also have River Oaks Center, Mr. Colin. Colin. He's here, but if Audrine could come forward and stand beside me if you have some questions. I'm past president and past board member, so I'm not currently on the board, but she has more updated information, if the council will allow.
I am, obviously I went back and read the information from when we took action on this previously, when it was first all developed, and I know we have made some progress on that. I was not aware at all of the condition of the riverbank. So that's something that's just happened in the last couple years?
No, it's ongoing. Christine, at that time, before we came to the meeting, I met with council member then, Velasic, and he did come out, and he did survey the river and look at the building. He did talk to some city engineers. I don't know if any recommendations came forward, but he did. He and I went towards the river, and we had a discussion about it.
Okay, very good, thank you.
No, it's a new issue in a way, but in a way it's an old issue. Every time the floods of 93, the floods of 2008, they're eating. We have riprap in part of it, but it's coming around and going to take really townhomes. And when you look down and you have children there and the drop is 75 feet, we have no fences.
Okay.
It's an issue.
Thank you.
And we need help.
Okay.
Thank you.
Jim Conlon, 2900 Southern Hills Circle. I am on the board of River Hills. River Hills is a small association comprising about 12 parcels of ground, and your participation is based on the square footage of the land you own. We control about a little over 60% of the land, which I realize is a minority position, but it's what we have to work with. We appreciate very much, we've worked for a long, long time, as you folks have and city staff, in getting that stoplight out there. That's just a godsend. It's a safety issue, and everything Microsoft is doing out there and the way that's developing, and now with the southern bypass, that's really needed. What's happening on the sewer system is an issue. It's nothing that money can't handle, but we have a private water or private sewer system out there. We always have had, and we have talked to Bill Stowe and others about the city taking it over a number of years ago, and the city doesn't want another albatross to put money into. Fortunately, our association has built up funds, which I appreciate everyone involved in paying their dues. We've hired McClure and Associates to monitor the situation. We also have an extensive pump system out there when the river comes up, which it does occasionally. We block off the pump station with sandbags. We realize we're going to have to solve this problem, and it may involve several $100,000. But to solve the problem, it's going to involve the city, because you own land on the other side of us, and the DNR and the waterworks, and all of us are going to have to come together and solve this. But it's nothing that we've let slide by, and we're all monitoring it, and we're aware of it. But obviously, people are somewhat intimidated when you're faced with a $200,000 or $300,000 bill. You folks might recall the riprap they were referring to. John Hart developed this area many, many years ago. And when we first got involved in the tax credit business, there was a gentleman out of Culver City, California, by the name of Wolfkowitz, that was doing tax credit properties all over the United States. He had a law degree, and he was also a CPA, nothing personal. He's now in jail. And we bought his property out of tax sale, and that's kind of how we got started. But the riprap just isn't lasting, and the river is eating away at the bank.
Okay.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. I appreciate the information. My motion will be to receive and file the information and the document that we have here and refer it to city staff to have a meeting to sit down and discuss options. And it sounds like, obviously, that there's some steps that are being taken in the right direction. So getting a clear understanding of what the city's role is versus the private entity is going to be really important on this.
Thank you. So we have a motion. I would like to add to it or just make a quick comment. The chief is in the house. Ms. Spicer asked if there was a chance that we could prioritize a neighborhood watch, community watch program in that area. And if you'd make sure that you get exchange of information, we can make that happen. I'm sure all of us believe strongly in that program, and we appreciate the police help.
I might just, while we're getting ready to vote on this, one thing that we didn't talk about that I thought was going to come up tonight was public transportation, because that's been an issue, an area of concern. We are working with DART. It's my understanding that there's going to be a survey that staff from Conlon Properties is working to help determine what are the times and needs of many of the people that live in the housing out there, and hopefully within the next 30 days we'll know exactly what the needs are out there, and then DART will be looking at that. One other item I know that Mr. Conlon's been very involved in has been providing transportation for many of the young people to participate in Head Start programs, and that's been funded privately with Mr. Conlon taking the lead for the last 4 years, maybe?
Right. Our foundation, Roxanne's and my foundation, sponsor a number of programs out there. In the past, we've also sponsored a program with the cab company where they send vans out there to run people over to the nearest DART station, which is on Railroad.
Correct.
But we would appreciate that, and it's a growing area, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a motion, and the manager and police chief have agreed to help us. Let's vote.
I vote yes.
6 yes.
It's 5:10, which means we, at 5 o'clock, move to our hearings, and we jump ahead to item 55. So for those that were in the next couple of items, you're going to have to sit tight for a few minutes. We will go through our hearings that have been published, that we would begin them at or close to 5. The first one is item 55. on Des Moines Park and Recreation Department's request to vacate Royal Park at 1809 8th Street. Bill, you have any comment?
Sure do, Chris. This is what we used to call a pocket park. It's about 70 feet wide, maybe about 200 feet deep. It originally was a platted home, and they tore the house down and gave the land to the city. We got a letter from Riverbend Neighborhood Association asking us to do one of two things. One, either start putting some amenities back into the park and make it more useful, or dispose of it and maybe look at another spot that they can have a new park. We're still looking through the options on that, but in the meantime, we're going to, the proposal here is to lease that property to the adjacent homeowner until such times we determine what's going to be the best use of that land. My big thing is, once you give up green land, you can never get it back, and so I want to make sure we're making the right decisions. So I'm going to move item 55, and I think I'll leave it at just the first reading to see if we get some more
Okay.
information.
So 55 and 55A has been moved. Is there anybody from the audience here to speak on item 55, our hearing? Thank you.
I vote yes.
Hold on, Joe, we have a speaker.
Good evening.
Oh, I'm sorry.
My name's Monica Charsky. I live directly adjacent to Royal Park. We have been working with our surrounding neighbors, as well as the neighborhood association, in addition to Ben Page at Parks and Rec for the past 3 years, to make this space positive for our block. It is a, let's say it's a major negative attraction right now. It's essentially an empty lot with some benches. We've been also working with our neighborhood Officer Brooklyn Budd. We have a lot of issues. So we would just respectfully request that the City Council give us this opportunity to make it a lovely, usable space for our block.
You want the address?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, ma'am, for the record, can we get your address? We know you're next door.
Sorry, 1815 8th Street.
Thank you. We do have a motion.
Yes, to,
Bill? No other speakers. Let's vote.
I vote yes.
6 yes.
Diane, it's not showing that I'm voting.
Yeah, I see that's wrong.
Okay,
You'll be Mr. Gatto tonight if I can't get that fixed.
okay, just so the records identify that.
I've noticed that there's two of us, Christine.
you guys must think alike.
That's trouble, Joe.
I know.
Item 56 is on the conveyance of city-owned property at 911 25th Street to Mark and Nancy McCewan for $15,000 in payment of delinquent taxes and special assessments. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody here to speak? Is there a motion?
I think we
I
got a
think
speaker.
he's
Oh,
coming up.
thank you. Was it your name I messed up?
Yes.
Go easy on me.
Yes. I'd like to have that property. I've maintained it for the last 10 years under the assumption that I had purchased it. I'd like to ask what the procedure is. I never, after I bought the property, I never got any tax statements or anything like that saying that I owed taxes on it, so that's why they weren't paid. Because of my ignorance and because of, I assume someone's not doing their job, I don't know, but what is, when are taxes due, and who do I pay them to, and everything else?
I can answer that. We can have real estate division reach out to you to give you those details, so that and also as part of this transaction, it would be recorded at the county, so that it's known that you're the owner. So we'll reach out to you.
So then you should get formal notice.
Okay.
So I'm just pleased that you were able to get this worked out, because I know that you have taken care of the property for a long time, so.
Thank you.
I will move item 56 with the understanding that will real estate reach out to him directly? So we have your contact information, and they'll just contact you and
Okay.
have a conversation with you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. It's been moved. Any other comments? Anybody from the audience? Let's close the hearing and vote.
I vote yes.
6 yes.
Thank you. Motion passes. Item 57 is on a request from Arnold DeWitt to rezone property in the vicinity of 3917 Mahaska Avenue from R160, one-family, low-density residential, to C2, general retail and highway-oriented commercial, and to allow expansion of the existing mini warehouse complex subject to conditions. A is the first consideration, and B is the final consideration. Waiver is requested by the applicant, the DeWitts, and it requires 6 votes. If the council is okay, we would let you make a short presentation to begin. You want to?
Been here before, Arnie and Grace DeWitt, 1642 Lakeview Drive, Pleasant Hill, Iowa. And we constructed East University Self-Storage in 1999. It's been a very successful business. We're, as of today, 100% full. We don't have one thing to rent. The 4 lots behind us we own, and we're desiring to rezone the 3 inner lots and keep the outside lot for residential.
These are 4 lots here. This lot here is reserved for residential, and then the 3 existing lots.
Mr. DeWitt, can I ask you to speak closer to the mic just so others can hear you?
Yes, I'm sorry. The lot here on the west is left for residential, and then there's 3 additional lots besides that, and that's where our construction would be for our new facility here, our expansion. Thank you.
This expansion, we feel like, would complete this area from our original buildings that we've built, our business, and would still leave the residential lot for housing, which the neighborhood is desiring. This land backs up to Mahaska. This is the north, right back here. That's totally trees. Mahaska has no sewer, no water. The nice thing about our facility, our business, is we don't need sewer or water, and so we feel like it's a perfect match. And the expansion will be tucked pretty much back into the hill, and so from the back of our other buildings, you won't see this hardly from the front by University. Will not be disturbing any of the trees on the north. The advantages we feel for this project is providing service for the people in our area. Right now, we're turning away people. We're turning away to Pleasant Hill, to Ankeny, and to Altoona. And we would like to keep them in Des Moines. We have a quiet business. We're not having to put any other new gate, any access. It will all come in off of the same one that we have right now. And
I have to leave you on myself.
for the short term, we would provide construction jobs pretty much immediately. And then thereafter, we're having to use more maintenance and management people, which would create jobs there. Our tax base in our current facility is about $48,000 yearly. Right now, the 3 lots that we're considering rezoning, we're paying $1,200 a year. This lot, once the construction would be complete, would bring in about the $40,000 for those 3 lots also. We have strived to be one of the best-looking businesses in the neighborhood. We keep our facility very well groomed. Our neighbor to the next of us, an hour later, even said we've made him a better businessman. He's put in trees and just done a lot of really good things to his business. We have the approval of Grayswoods Neighborhood Association, which we appreciate, and we were approved 100% by the Planning and Zoning. And so we're seeking your approval on this, this rezoning.
I just want to take a moment and show you our facility that exists now, which is an aerial view here. And this is East 38th Street, and then this would be University Avenue. And our gate entrance is here. And then to access this property is between these two buildings was a 30-foot space, and this would go right on up to this 30-foot drive that goes around here on it. Then these other green areas would be drives as well on it. And of course, this is just a concept. And then when we're completed, this is what the facility should look like, basically. Some of these aren't to scale, but that would be when the project would be 100% complete. And if you'll notice on the fronts of all the buildings, we have a kind of our signature look, which is the stone and brick. And the aesthetics are very pleasing. And of course, the nicer we can make the property look, we feel that more customers will want to store. So,
Thank you.
you bet.
Thank you. It is a public hearing. Is there anybody else from the audience that would like to speak? If you'd come forward. If there's anybody else, please come forward at this time so we know how many people are speaking.
Hi, my name's Carrie Warren with Greater Eastside Development and lifelong Eastside resident. I've met Grace and Arnie DeWitt through Greater Eastside Development, and when they came and were talking about their project, I was really excited about it. I haven't seen much growth when it comes to local business on the east side. I actually see the opposite, where we're shuttering businesses down versus growing and expanding. So I know they've worked really hard with the community to get community approval and try to make it a win-win for both them and the neighborhood, and I really appreciate that. I think they've done a wonderful job with that. So I'm hoping that you all vote unanimously yes, because I would love to see some growth in a positive manner on the east side. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers from the public? I'll close the public hearing and turn it over to the councilwoman from the ward.
Would like to move item 57 and 57B, which I realize takes 6 votes.
Okay, it's been moved for 57A and B. Yes.
Questions
Skip.
of the applicants.
All right. The DeWitts, can you
Yeah.
come up and field some questions?
Yes,
Your overhead schematic showed that eventually you're going to have 4 homes there. You're going to start with 1, and at a later date, put the other 3 in.
Actually, no, that's not what's going to happen. What will happen is if we can get the facility built and moving forward with that, then we, at some point, will be building a manager's residence there. That's
Okay.
our plan. And so once we get the facility built and operating, then we can afford to build a manager's
Okay.
residence.
And I understand that you released the easement on Anderson's property?
Yes, sir. Uh-huh.
Good. That's excellent. The only other thing I'd ask of you, and you're probably aware of it, there has been in the past a family of fox living on that property. I would hope that you would call the DNR and ask them if they'd send a wildlife biologist out to assess the property to see if they are there now. I'd hate to think you'd be...
My wife will speak to you on that.
Okay.
Yeah, Skip, the last time we did this, I called the DNR and I talked with Terry over there, and because Merlin's concern was the fox. And I called and they said if there's any activity, we asked about moving the fox. And they said that's against the law. And so when I talked to them, they said they're smart like a fox, and they, when they hear construction, whatever going on, they will move their dens.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other speakers? Any other questions? So we do have a motion for both 57A and B.
Yes.
The hearing's been closed.
Yes.
We have a yes from Councilmember Gatto. The mayor has joined us on the phone, by the way. I'm a yes.
Mayor, we have motion 57A and B.
Can't see it, he's texting.
I didn't hear all of it. I've been reluctant on B, just because I know there's been a lot of controversy in the past. So I'm a yes on A. I'll pass on
Chris?
B.
Yeah, just so everybody can hear, the mayor has registered a yes vote on A to move it forward, but he's not yet comfortable passing the final reading, so he's not a yes vote on B.
Can I say something to him?
Yes, please.
Mayor, this is Skip. I attended the neighborhood meeting, and the neighborhood did support this project.
Chris, could you repeat that?
Mayor, Councilmember Moore said he personally attended the neighborhood meeting, as I'm sure Linda was probably at.
I was not there.
Okay, and Skip says and wanted you to know that the neighborhood association has supported this project, and so it, I guess, has come some ways with the neighborhood over the last years.
Okay. With that note, I'll vote in favor.
Okay,
On B.
so we have a yes on A and B.
7 yes.
So the motion passes. DeWitt's, congratulations. You can still come back and see us every couple of years.
Long time coming, huh?
We get lonely.
Item 58 is a hearing on the request from Solid Ground LLC to rezone property located at 150 East County Line Road from R180, One Family Residential District, to limited R160, One Family Low Density Residential District, to allow subdivision of the property for minimum 60-foot wide single-family residential lots subject to conditions. This was continued on June 12th to tonight, and we are being asked to vote on both A is the first consideration and B, the final consideration of the ordinance. B was requested by the applicant. It does require 6 votes. I will open the public hearing. Is there anybody here from the community or from the applicant that would like to speak? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Gatto is on the phone, and I know he and I spoke about this earlier. Would you like to make any comments, Councilman Gatto?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Coleman. Yeah, I had discussions, and this is why it was continued from last week with Mr. Grubb. He has made some concessions to some larger homes that he's agreed to put on more than 60% of the lots, I believe. And I'm really happy and excited for this project, and I will move 58A and B.
So 58A and B has been moved. Is there any other comments or questions from the council? Let's vote on item 58. Mayor?
Yes.
The mayor is a yes vote.
7 yes.
Thank you. Item 59 is a hearing on the request from HDR Land Development, LLC, to rezone property in the vicinity of 4896 Easton Boulevard from A1 Agriculture to PUD Planned Unit Development, and approval of a second amendment to the Woods at Copper Creek PUD conceptual plan to add approximately 38.68 acres to the east of the existing development to provide approximately 130 additional lots for single-family residential that would each be a minimum of 70 foot wide. This was also continued from June 12th. We're asked to vote on A, the first consideration of the ordinance above, B, the final consideration of the ordinance above. This waiver was requested by the applicant, and it does require 6 votes. And C, to receive and file the communication from Planning and Zoning Commission regarding preliminary plat Woods at Copper Creek. Is there anybody here from the public or the applicant that would like to speak? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing.
With that, I will move item 59A, B, and C. There are exciting things happening in Ward 2.
Mayor, Joe, it's been moved. Final consideration, A, B, and C.
I vote yes.
Mayor, this is item 59.
Yes.
Mayor votes yes on 59A, B, and C.
7 yes.
Councilmember, congratulations. Not every day we develop that
No,
many lots.
we just keep
2
moving.
agenda items in a row.
Now we need a fire station out that way.
We do. And a viaduct,
That's for
what
sure.
else?
No, the viaduct's in closer. That's in Ward 4.
Item 60 is dismissing proceedings on request from Extreme Auto Plaza, Inc. to rezone property at 1453 East 14th Street from limited C2 general highway, general retail and highway-oriented commercial to R2A general residential to a limited C2, and this was also continued from June 12th. Anybody here from the public or the applicant that would wish to speak? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and ask for any comment or motion from the council.
I've been having discussions. I guess I would like to see us, is it possible to ask us to delay it one more month? Give me a little more time.
The hearing has been closed.
It's
now.
been closed. Okay, I would move item 60.
I mean, it's been closed, yeah. You just closed it, so.
You can always bring it back.
I can bring it back.
You can
Okay.
restart it because it was not
Okay.
decided negatively, so you
Okay,
can always restart.
then
the
I'll
rezoning.
just move item 60.
Can I just ask for clarification? Does that mean they have to apply and pay for another hearing?
Yes.
You want to make a motion to reconsider it, or can we do that on this?
Well, the hearing has been closed.
Is that because I just said that?
Because you said the hearing's closed and
I think I
and there was no
meant,
one to
what if I
speak.
meant something else?
You misspoke.
It's fine, we can close it.
My suggestion, my advice would be to let the process start again. You have clear communication written request from the owner asking the proceeding to be terminated, so.
Okay.
It's not like they're, like
That's
the
fine.
person requesting is being disadvantaged somehow.
Okay. So item 60 has been moved, and the
Yes.
motion is,
To dismiss.
thank you. Any other comments? Let's vote.
Mayor and Joe.
I vote yes.
There we go.
Mayor, we have a motion for 60.
All right, thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
7 yes.
Item 61 is a hearing on the 2017 parking garage repair program, resolution approving plans, specifications, form of contract documents, engineer's estimate, and designating lowest responsible bidder as E&H Restoration LLC, Mark F. MD, President, $508,849. Item A is approval of the contract and bond and permission to sublet the project. That's a public hearing. Is there anybody here to speak to it? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and ask for comments or a motion.
I'll make a motion to move 61, 61A.
Mayor,
Yes.
61's been moved. No other comments. Let's vote.
Yes.
7 yes.
Thank you. It's been approved. Item 62 is on Fifth and Keel Parking Garage Elevator Lobby HVAC Resolution approving plans, specifications, form of contract documents, engineer's estimate, and designating lowest responsible bidder as Aircon Mechanical Corporation, James M. Schaefer, President. This is for $52,817. Item A is approving the contract and bond. This is a public hearing. Is there anybody here to speak? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and ask for comments or a motion.
I'll move item 62, 62A.
It's been moved. Any other comments? Let's vote.
Yes.
Is that plus A?
Yes, including A, 62 and 62A.
Christine, you're voting on your own now, I see.
I am.
I see that.
Did the mayor vote?
Mayor, was that a yes?
Yes.
7 yes.
I believe that completes our hearings for the evening, and we go back to the next regular agenda item, which I have as item 52. Is that right?
Yes.
So item 52 is approving a decision regarding hearing officer's report overruling appeal of Intermedics on the RFP Evaluation and Selection Committee's recommendation for award of contract for the provision of ambulance billing services to Digitech Computer, Inc. We get to choose alternative A or B. A is affirming the hearing officer's report and accepting Digitech Computer proposal and approving award of contract to Digitech Computer, Inc., and authorizing the city manager to negotiate and execute a contract, or B, overruling the hearing officer's report, rejecting the committee's recommendation, and directing the committee to reconvene to reevaluate the proposals. Before we allow for comment, Manager, I would like you or maybe one of the staff to summarize the action before us and where we're at this point.
Sure, I can do that briefly here. And so you have in your packet the response to the appeal that was conducted by our finance director, Bob Fagan. There were several counts and findings within that report for which all of the objections were overruled. In a sense, for the audience, that means that the recommendation would be to continue forward with the award of the Digitech proposal. I can obviously get into the details of each of those objections that were raised, but I also feel as a city manager that was the right choice that was made.
You dropped off at the end.
Yeah, speak a little.
I just mentioned that as a city manager, I would recommend affirming.
Thank you. Christine?
I've got a couple of questions, and I know I talked with representatives from Digitex there. One of the concerns, and I read through it, was the, well, number one, it's so close. I mean, you're just talking a minimal difference between the top two. And the reason that concerns me is because I believe when the RFP is submitted and they make assumptions on the revenue that they would generate, and that appears to be a somewhat subjective assumption, and I'd like to have them address that because they did address that with me before the meeting. That's one issue. And then the other issue is, it's my understanding that this would be effective July 1. Is that realistic, knowing the transition and what has to go on? Or are we asking to extend the current relationship for a month or two or 60 or 90 days so that we have a smooth transition?
I see representatives of the two companies in question here. I suspect that you'd each like to make comment. Why don't we allow comment before we have any other council discussion, so we have the benefit of that presentation. If you're going to speak, please come up and line up.
Thank you, Councilman Coleman. I'm Matt 80, 329 43rd Street in Des Moines, with Intermedics, the incumbent billing provider. And it was a close RFP. It was less than a point. And regarding the RFP specifically, what concerned us is that you were given more points for the higher estimate of what you thought you could collect. Nothing wrong with trying to estimate the collections. That should be part of the RFP. But there was little to no validation of how our competitor was going to achieve those higher revenue goals. And we appealed that, and the city just came back and simply said that they have no reason to believe they won't get them. And we would like some more validation. We would like this to go for a further evaluation, a rehearing. We'd like the oral arguments to be brought in also. Our second point is we're the incumbent. We've enjoyed a very good relationship with the city, the fire department, the hospitals. We've created a lot of good relationships there. We've had a steady source of revenue for the city. It's not insignificant, about $4 million per year. We project we're going to have an increase this year over last year, and we think that should be a factor here. There will be transition costs. Anytime you switch to a new vendor, especially in something like the EMS billing space, it's not like going to the doctor's office. You have to have a lot of longstanding relationships, in our opinion, to collect the dollars, both from the hospital side, the fire department side, and the city. So those are the 2 points, the RFP, the calculations, and the lack of validation, and our longstanding relationship with the city. So thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Stay close in case there's questions.
My name is Tim Coonan, 5200 Harwood Drive.
I'm here with Davis Brown Law Firm representing Digitech Computer Incorporated. We actually have some of their senior people here in the audience. The President and CEO will be speaking and talking about just the issue that Mr. Ady addressed. I think it's telling that they are here. They had traveled here from a long way. Without knowing that this would be happening, we expected to be on the consent calendar and happy to have this conversation, given the questions. But I think their commitment is demonstrated symbolically by them being here. I think also to address the issues Mr. Ady addressed, we really respect the RFP process, worked well with the city staff. City staff, I think, evaluated all the metrics and all the numbers that Mr. Ady is talking about. I think they're well suited to do it. Not that you're not, but they are also that's what they do. A protest was lodged and the same conclusion was reached. Now, given the projections, our company, Digitech, made projection based on performance in cities around the country where they replaced intermedics. So those numbers were not, I mean, they are projections, obviously, because they haven't operated in the city of Des Moines, but they're projections based on performance. And it was a conservative projection based on their performance in some other cities and governmental entities. The fact that those projections seem out of reach for intermedics might be indicative as to why Digitech won the bid. The projections you're looking at from Digitech are expectations of that company. Plain and simple. This is what they've done. This is what they plan to do. And from a monetary perspective, they plan to do well by the city and better than has been done before. Before President and CEO of Digitech comes up and talks a little bit about specifically those numbers, I just want to say thank you for the time to talk here. We urge you to choose option A and back the process undertaken by the city staff, both in the initial RFP and also in the decision made on the protest. So absent any questions, I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Do we have an additional speaker? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd just like to reiterate, we went through a process, and it was a good process. It was a fair process. We all were subject to the same rules, and we won. As Vince Lombardi said, show me a good loser, I'll show you a loser. They don't want to lose, but in this case, we won. And I understand that we want to sort of clarify our projections. And the best I can do in that regard is show you how we've done against intermedics where we've taken over their clients. And I should also say that I started Digitech in 1984. I'm a software guy. We built a system that specifically for ambulance. And we've put a lot of money and time into it, and we have increased collections every time we have taken over a contract where we had data. And that's not just from intermedics. It's from McKesson, it's from A&B Mars, it's from LifeQuest. And that data is all public. So let me just show you how we've done against intermedics, and then I think you'll see that our projections are actually fairly conservative. So how does this work? Oh, there we go. Okay. So we've taken 7 clients to date. I should say that we were also awarded Las Vegas, where they also filed some kind of a protest. In fact, in 3 of these instances, they've also filed protests where we took clients from them. I think it's just part of their strategy. So in that event, you can find anything in our proposal to protest. In this case, they went to our revenue projections. But if you look at this, we took Dallas, and we increased collections by 50%. That's almost $7 million. Gwinnett County, Georgia, we increased collections by 38%. Johnson County, Kansas, we increased collections by 33%. In Memphis, Tennessee, we increased collections by 20%. In Corsicana, we increased collections by almost 20%. And then it hasn't always been a home run. I mean, in Corsicana, it was only about 6%, and Grady, it was 2.6%. But the average increase over clients that we've taken from Intermedics has been 24%. We projected an increase here of 13%, which we are fairly confident, I would say very confident, that we will hit. So on that basis, I would say that you had the process. You asked for our projections. We gave you reasonable projections based on history. And we won. And we look forward to doing business with you.
Can you speak to Councilmember Hensley's question about the July 1st and anticipated transition?
Sure. We would need more time. We would want more time. So let me also speak to transition, because gentleman here made a comment about the cost of transition. I'll challenge that. There should be significant. There's no cost for you on transition. There's cost for us. Relationships with hospitals is something that we specialize in. I would say, and I give you Memphis, the example of Memphis. There was no cash dislocation. In fact, there was an increase in cash at the conversion date, because at the time, and I'm not saying this is the case now, when they processed claims, they were processing claims in 60 days, and we processed claims in 24 hours. So you can imagine that at the time we took over the contract, there was an increase in cash. But to your point, typically we would take 6 weeks to transition. The bulk of that time goes into signing up insurance companies onto our system. We can do it faster. We've done it in 4. But July, assuming that Intermedics is willing to extend I'm not sure what the details of their contract are, but if we could get 6 weeks, that would be preferred.
Go ahead.
Can you go back on the information that we have on the overhead there?
Mm-hmm.
What's the time period that this has transpired in, where you have taken on these other communities? Has it been over a 1-year period, a 3-year period?
Okay, great question. And I love that question. So basically, we looked at our collections the year after we took over the contract. Okay, so before there were any rate increases. I mean, it takes 6 months to a year to get fully resolved claims. And then what we do is we look at our collections per transport. Okay, so that way it inoculates the whole analysis from volume changes and things like that. And so this represents increases in collections without any significant change to volume, rates. This is just a process change.
And so has this been, you've taken over these accounts in these communities in the last 5 years?
Oh, okay. So Dallas we've had for 5 years, and they renewed the contract. Gwinnett County, 5 years, they just renewed the contract. Johnson County, I think 7 or 8. Memphis, Tennessee, we're on the second round of a 5-year contract. And by the way, as I said, this is all public information, right? These people will speak to this. Corsicana, I'm not sure. Pearland, I'm not sure. And Grady EMS is probably 4 years now.
Okay.
Thank you. Is there anybody else here to speak, to give testimony to the council? If not, well, thank you guys, and if we need you, we'll call you back up.
Thank you.
Anybody over here have questions or comments?
Can I just make a statement, Mr. Coleman?
Sure.
I know staff has put a lot of time into this. Our city manager has recommended this. I mean, we've seen other bids that have come in close for construction and different things like that, to where we've awarded it to the lowest possible bid. So I'm not sure why we would think differently because of this. They won the competitive RFP. I believe that they should get the bid, and I think we should support our city manager and staff. And I can wait for some other people to make some comments, but I'll move 52 and 52A.
So it's been moved. Skip do you have comment?
Yeah, I'd like to ask the city manager how large the committee was that picked originally.
I'm not certain, but I know there was representatives in the fire department and finance, so that we were covering both the aspects.
And then their decision went to one hearing officer.
Yes, that is the way our process works. So
I think I'm going to vote no on this. I think it should go back to the committee. We've done that with other issues before. I think, what was it, concrete mixer or something, we did the same exact thing on.
I know that as your former finance director, I did have one issue come through where the finance director is the hearing officer, so that's the way our policy works.
Can I just,
Yes.
I guess, in all honesty, I came in here tonight thinking I was concerned about the revenue number, and I shared that with them. Obviously, it's a big deal, and it is, I want to make sure that we have it right, as much as right. And I respect, the staff and the recommendation and all the work. Based upon the fact that we're having discussion about the July 1st date is not really realistic, workable. So we're going to be asking for an additional amount of time. And we assume, or do we know that that will be given by the existing vendor?
I don't think that has been finalized at this point.
Do we anticipate that being a problem? So I guess my question was, just to make sure and validate the financial piece. I mean, if you were to come back and say, we have validated that, we've double-checked it, I would be prepared to vote
Well,
for the,
and that was done through the process, through the appeal.
and so
there's
did
a
we
comfort.
actually contact the communities, or are we relying upon information they provided?
The original information.
But I mean, do we actually go back and talk with the communities?
Christine, I'd make a suggestion that maybe we invite the hearing officer to provide a little testimony just to the scope of your review and how you concluded your recommendation. This is your first time talking on the hot seat?
Yes.
We put you-
Welcome, Bob.
Let's see if I can actually talk. The one thing I would like to say is that very, very good things that came out of this, and I looked at this from the record, and there's different ways you can have a hearing, so I literally looked at the RFPs. The time for intermedics, if they were concerned about how the weighted system was, whether one piece gets weighted more than the others, I think there's some discussion, why did this have a higher one than that? They had that opportunity before we got to that process. So part of the RFP said if you have some challenges, that's the time to do it. Otherwise, it's unfair to those that bid based on those RFPs to change it in the middle of the game. So I want to make sure that I pointed that point out. I also took a little extra work, and they provided a couple things they were concerned about, although as a hearing officer, I didn't have to look at that. But even if we threw out the outlier that they talked about, the difference wouldn't have changed. It still would have been to Digitech. So literally, I tried to look at every different way to make sure that we missed something, but the committee followed everything with the RFP to the T. They had opportunities to go in and check if they found some things that didn't work, and obviously you can tell from Digitech that they did have the history to show that they could do this type of work and get that done. There's also a section in the RFP that says in the event they don't, we can go back and revisit it, and at that time, if they're not performing, we could have that discussion as well. So tried to cover all the bases, tried to answer all the questions that was there, and at least from staff's perspective, I would still encourage you to look at the integrity of the system. I know close is sometimes not a fun thing, but the idea, one of the concerns they had that opportunity. They chose not to do it when the weighting of the system said you get so much for this section and so much for that.
Did the other vendors do that?
They all had the same opportunity. But anytime we do an RFP, there's a section where people can come in and say, hey, I want to take a look at this. I'm not sure this is what we want. And that process that opportunity came and went. And once we started, then everybody bid based on what the RFP said.
Thank you. We do have a motion on the table. Bill?
Just a couple comments I have. One, I do like a weighted vote on the decision. It kind of puts the best interest to the taxpayers of Des Moines at the forefront. That's a good thing I like to see. A lot of times a low bid is not the best bid. Second thing, about the overstating about the revenue that they can get. We had a property that got purchased by a company that the loser said they're overestimating what they can get the house sold for. You know, they used a figure of 200,000. They thought that was overestimating. Guess what? Sold it for 200,000. So I think they're honestly in the right avenue of getting this done right. I'm going to support the A version. I would like, just as a sanity check, a year from now, let's just see how well we did. That'd be a realistic request. But I'm going to support A. Thank
I think
you.
it's very realistic to get that information.
Absolutely. I can make that part of the motion. We can revisit it in a year and see what see where we came out at.
A year after the contract starts?
Yes.
Because this contract will have automatic renewals, assuming
Yes.
performance is satisfactory. And it will be 2 3-year renewals.
That sounds
I think is what it is.
Yep.
Before we move to voting, Mayor, the discussion has been that item A has already been moved, and that we would consider also a report to council, a review of it in a year. That would award the contract to Digitech, a new contractor. Item A would be. So I think we're ready to vote. Joe, Mayor, if you have any questions, please ask now before we vote.
No, I think they've been appropriately asked, and it sounds like staff has done their work, and I support Mr. Gatto's motion.
Thank you. Let's vote.
Yes.
Yes.
6 yes, 1 no.
The motion passes. Thank you. And I know it's never easy not to get an additional contract, but we do ask that staff and what's the name of the other company? Intermedics, meet as soon as possible to discuss the transition. That seems like an issue. Thank you, Mr. Eady, for being here. Item 53 is professional services agreement with OPN, Inc. Does business as OPN Architects for the design and construction services for the Municipal Service Center, Phase 2, not to exceed $3,051,780.
Mr. Coleman?
Mayor.
If somebody could, at least for me, explain, it looked like the initial fiscal impact notice to us was $1,763,000 approximately. Now it's $3 million. How did we get there? How do we get that very sizable increase?
Great question. Our city engineer is on her way to the mic.
Pam Cooksey, City Engineer. Mayor, the initial notice to proceed is for a portion of the work. The total contract is still the $3 million number, but we'll only give them permission to proceed with what is necessary for design development of the total project, and then construction documents for the first phase.
So just to clarify, he used a number of 1.7 million. Is that the
phase?
That's the phase.
That's for a portion of the work, correct?
That's phase 1 of phase
Well, it's
2 Municipal Service Center.
It's 2A and 2B, yeah.
Mayor, were you able to hear the explanation from Pam?
Some of it.
Let me put it in my words, and she can correct me if I'm wrong. The $3 million is divided into 2 different phases. You're referring to phase 1, which is $1.7 million roughly, and then there would be an additional 1.3 or $1.4 million phase that is secondary. When you roll them together, it's the 3, but we are asking them only to do phase 1 work right now.
Okay, so does the $3 million cover all phases then?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Well, if everybody else is comfortable with it, I can go along with it. But I was somewhat concerned that it looked like we were seeing a substantial nudge in the pricing, and I was wondering why that happened, and it sounds like you got a reasonable answer.
This is an item that has not been moved yet. Is there any other speakers from the audience?
I'll move item 53 if there are no other speakers.
Okay.
Councilman Gatto?
I was just waiting to see if there was any other discussion. I was intending on moving item 53. If Councilmember Hensley did, that's fine. I'm in support of this. I just wanted to make sure that if there's any other comments from my colleagues, that they be heard before I move this particular item.
All right, can you remove your motion?
I'm a yes.
That's fine.
If she moved it.
My, I would voice one concern, and that is at a work session last week, we heard an update on the transload facility, which would be important for this. Have we pushed that ahead at all, or do we have additional information on that?
No additional. That would affect the rail line in between the two properties? Is that what your concern is?
It would be a benefit of the new design. Okay. So, Joe, we removed the motion. Christine did. There's been discussion. If you wanted to move it, now would be a good time, I think.
Yes, I will move item 53.
And the mayor voted yes.
Yes, Mayor.
So, yes.
Thank you.
6 yes, 1 no.
The motion passes. That takes us to item 54, item 28E, an agreement with the, item 54, a 28E agreement with the Neighborhood Finance Corporation.
Sure.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Hello, my name is Stephanie Prush, and I'm with the Neighborhood Finance Corporation. I live at 1519 Beaver Avenue. I don't have a formal presentation. I just want to say thank you so much for the city's continued support, for the individuals on the city council who support our events, for Christine serving on our board of directors for many years. We've been lending in Des Moines since the 1990s. We've helped over 5,500 households and done over $325 million in lending. Just last year, we did almost $5 million in home renovations, or people did through our program. It allows us to be a leader nationally in what we're doing, which is evidenced by, we just got a large $3.6 million grant to do down payment assistance throughout Polk County. I have information with me, as well as get funding through U.S. Treasury so we can bring money into Des Moines and really leverage the money that we get through the city council. Thank you very much. Do you have any questions for me?
I don't. Does the council?
I'd just like to move item 54, and I just want to emphasize, Stephanie made a comment there that I don't think that people fully appreciate or recognize, and that's the fact that she has done an awesome job of leveraging additional resources through the federal government, NeighborWorks, the CDFI program. So it's just been amazing. And the city is not only putting in $1 million a year, but the county is renewing their 28E for $1 million as well. So this has just been a phenomenal program. And one other thing I would just share is it's so successful that Stephanie and her staff has been working with Cedar Rapids on replicating this program in Cedar Rapids. And, this is by far one of the most successful programs I think the city's ever done. And the fact that we've made an ongoing commitment to bond for that money speaks volumes.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to move.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Great job.
As chair of the meeting, I would like to just make a personal comment. Christine, for all or most of the last 20-some years you've served on that board since it was created. Yep. Might be our last time we take action on NFC, but I wanted to just compliment you for that work, because one of the reasons why it's done well is because of the people we've had from the city representing us. Thank you for that. Chris Johansson also serves on that board. I know I speak for all of us we can spend all kinds of money and do all kinds of things, but when we're out with neighborhoods, they talk about NFC everywhere.
Yep.
And so, thank you for your service on that board.
Thank you. And Chris Johansson's in the chain of command to be chair.
Oh, good.
Yes, yes.
Good.
We are very fortunate.
Yeah.
So we have a motion. Mayor and Joe, are you following along? Are you ready to vote, or do you have a question?
Yep, I vote yes. Great comments, Councilmember Coleman. Thank you for Christine for what you do on that board. I know it doesn't go unnoticed from your colleagues, I'll tell you that, and from the rest of the city, I hope.
The mayor and Councilman Gatto have both voted yes.
7 yes.
Thank you. For those of you that thought we were at the end of the agenda,
We're not.
not yet. So now we get to go to extra items. A little trick staff plays to keep us around longer on a beautiful night. Extra item 1 is a request from Joel Templeman, representing Quick Trip Corporation, to receive and file a letter regarding 3700 Hubble Avenue, Quick Trip Corporation and Grandview Plaza 2 LLC, Hubble Avenue Corridor Redesign Project. The sponsor is Council Member Westergaard.
Yes.
Good evening. Joel Templeman, Willis O'Malley Law Firm, 317 6th Avenue, Suite 300, Des Moines. With me tonight is my partner, Dan Manning. We're here on behalf of Grandview Plaza 2 LLC, and Greg Baker from that entity is here with us tonight. We do not represent Quick Trip Corporation. Ben Bruner from the Dickinson Law Firm, who is also here this evening with his client, represents Quick Trip. We are here to talk about the property located at 3700 Hubble. That's the property that Grandview Plaza 2 owns and has a lease for that property with the tenant Quick Trip. And the purpose of us adding this as an extra item, and we appreciate Linda Westergaard sponsoring it for us to get it before you tonight, is to talk to you about the concerns regarding the proposed plan as it relates to the Hubble redesign project affecting this parcel. And I attached the plan to the letter that I submitted to you, that I presume you all have in your packets. So I don't know if that can be brought to the screen or not.
Are you looking for?
I have it, but the color, I don't have a color copy.
Just go ahead and
That's
put
not
it, you can just put it down there. Just
That'll work, yeah, thank you. I do have that one, actually, Chris, thank you.
I'll throw it down there. You can keep talking.
Okay.
There we go.
And so the reason for our concern is that the proposed plan shows various access points to Hubble being closed as part of this project. As the property sits there today, it enjoys 2 full access points onto Hubble. As part of this project, both those full access points are proposed to be closed. So from the property owner's standpoint, that negatively impacts the property as a whole. And then to compound that, then he's at risk of losing his tenant at the site if this property is constructed as proposed. Just earlier this evening, as we sat down, Scott Sanders presented this document to me, which has I guess an alternate concept for the development or for this project, which would, in essence, salvage one access onto Hubble, although that being a right-in, right-out, not a full access. But under this plan, the access that the site enjoys on East Douglas would be closed. So at this point, we're here to, I guess we're first of all, we're appreciative of working with staff throughout this process, we're here recently, I should say. We're happy that Linda Westergaard has sponsored this item. We've been in correspondence with Scott Sanders as well. But quite frankly, from the property owner standpoint, we're not in a position tonight to agree to either one of these proposals. And quite frankly, Quick Trip is here and they can speak for themselves on that as well. And our, I guess, number one priority as the property owner is to keep our tenant here. And I think that obviously from the property owner's perspective, but also as when you take into account the services that Quick Trip provides to the neighboring properties here. I think it'd be a detriment to lose them as a tenant, and for the neighborhood to lose them as a corporate citizen. So we're here to, I suppose, ask for. I'm not quite sure of the timing of this project, when it needs to, what the next steps are as far as potentially acquiring property to get this project moving. We have, I think, made a little progress with finding an alternative to the originally proposed design. At a minimum, from the property owner's perspective, we ask that we have maybe some additional time to potentially explore some other designs for this specific property. And that's the reason for my letter that was, I think, submitted to you last Thursday. I don't know if Quick Trip wants to step up and address their specific concerns as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Joel.
Good evening, Council. Ben Bruner here on behalf of Quick Trip Corporation. I'm with the Dickinson Law Firm, 699 Walnut Street. And as always, thanks for your time and attention here. And I'll just kind of piggyback on Joel's comments and say in the past couple weeks, with the help of staff and the council members, we've made some good progress as far as kind of minimizing the quote-unquote damage to the site and the operations that elimination of those access points would do. And we just ask again for additional time to evaluate kind of these general plans that we've now got our hands on and continue to move forward in a fashion that all parties can get on board with.
Thank you.
We're here to answer any questions. I've got Mike Talcott and Gary Farmer with Quick Trip. Thank you.
Mr. Manning?
Members of the council, Dan Manning, 317 6th Avenue. Lillis O'Malley Law Firm. I'm just here to reiterate that we appreciate everything that the staff has done, the efforts being made by Linda, Skip Moore. But in addition to this site, the property at 4203 Hubble, Porter Hardware, that's an issue as well that we ask that we be given some time to look at. 42nd Street is an issue. And we understand, it's been reiterated, and we appreciate everything the staff has shared with us concerning this particular project and the importance of safety. But that's one of the issues for Porter Hardware is safety, is that the way things are currently configured, the system works there. Trucks, semis can get in and out of that site. The closure of one of the accesses, placement of a traffic signal at 42nd Street and the configuration of 42nd Street, it just makes it, semis are going to sit out on Hubble trying to make turns, trying to make maneuvers. We simply ask for more time, recognizing that time is sensitive, recognizing that staff has put a lot of time into this already. Linda has put in a lot of effort. We certainly appreciate that. Skip Moore, the same. But we simply ask that in addition to what they're asking for at 3700 Hubble, that you look at that as well on behalf. I mean, this is a business that's been in place. It's a staple. It's a fixture of the East Side over 75 years, it's my understanding. David Porter's here tonight as well. So simply ask on his behalf to do the same analysis. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Westergaard?
I would ask that we move to receive and file. I know that there's ongoing discussions. I've talked to Scott several times. I think engineering is working on some things, but I'm going to turn it over to Scott.
Thank you.
Sorry.
No, that's quite all right. And so both those projects are challenging at best, most of all because we've already set in motion both projects, and we are a long ways down the path and nearly ready for construction on the other one. So I'm going to ask that the discussion on the 42nd hold off because the one we have in front of us that was requested is the one that needs your attention first. Okay, so as the handout shows, we are at the point where it's time to get the appraisals finished up so we can acquire the property. And the design can be modified fairly easily to accommodate the second alternative that was just shown, which is a hammerhead dead end for East Douglas. I'm not sure that was the number one concern that was voiced to us, that they did not have direct access, even a right in, right out to their property. So we are fortunate in this project to be able to provide that solution that does give them a right in, right out. In addition to the new roadway that is proposed that gives them a full access on the west side. We will know very shortly if that new access will come with a signal. We do know, I'm very confident that the numbers are close enough that even if it's not justified immediately, it will be in the very near future. So, as was stated, I ask that the council stay focused on why this project was even brought to this table, and that is for public safety. We need to improve this intersection. And you have what were several options shared with the neighborhoods and the local neighbors, including the business owners. This conversation has been ongoing for 2 years. And so I do need to, for the record, my displeasure in the fact that we've gotten this far before the complaints, if you will, have gotten to this level. So we can get past that with some additional work, but I am very cautious of trying to delay this any further. We really need to move forward with the appraisals and the acquisition in order to stay on schedule. I would tell you that we are dealing in days and at most a couple weeks before we're at risk of further delays in the schedule on the back end for construction. So I do not know what other additional design work is being proposed. We can hear them out at one more meeting if the council would like, but we will need to move forward with acquisition in order to stay on schedule very quickly. Again, days, possibly a week, 10 days type of thing.
And I just want to add that I think the property owner that's being affected by this is Conlon Properties, and he has been willing to accommodate. He has worked with the city. He said, fine. I went to the neighborhood association because I happen to live in this area, and it affects them, but they were willing to make those changes also. So there's been some work done to accommodate this change. And I'm hopeful that we can get something accomplished and worked out. But I thank
Skip.
Mr. Conlon.
Yes. Mr. Moore?
I'd just like to say that I heard it from these gentlemen up there, and everybody needs to keep this in mind. Both of these projects were asked for because of safety. Bad accidents, some deaths, and I think that needs to be kept in mind at every step of this, as we are talking safety, as the city manager has acknowledged also.
And I serve on the MPO, and even a kind of an independent arbitrator prioritized this with some MPO money a couple years ago, recognizing the safety concern and the necessary improvements that are there. So the motion is that we receive and file it.
Receive and file, as Scott said, I don't know if we need a motion to go back to engineering and see what we can work out, but I think we're very close.
Yeah, I think it's more a matter of hearing these parties out one more time with what other notions they may have of design change.
So we have a
see-
drop dead date of the next council meeting. A decision has to be made one way or the other.
Yeah, I don't know that we have an actual council
can't have
approval coming up in the near future, because we've already got the approvals to move forward with the appraisals. And so what's been halted at this point in time is an administrative function.
Okay.
So to keep us on track, we need to get back to that work with appraisals and acquisition.
Okay.
So we have a motion to receive and file and a game plan. All
I vote yes.
Did you want to make a quick comment?
Just want to clarify, so, and I appreciate taking the time to evaluate this, but just so I'm clear, as of right now, we're going to come back at the next council meeting to discuss any.
No, before that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I heard you say that you wanted more time.
That's correct.
For potential change. We need to know what those are within a matter of days.
So my confusion lies then in days, weeks. Right? So if we obviously have discussions prior to the next council meeting, then we're to report back, or you are to report at that meeting.
Yeah, and you can decide at that point if you need to bring anything back to the council. Okay. Otherwise, we'll get back on track administratively.
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess what I'm hearing is 2 weeks from now, it's going to be too late to make any changes. And so our discussions better be realistic and timely in the coming days.
Okay.
And I don't know how it could change much more. Is it option A or is it option B?
Right.
It's the approved concept or modify.
Sure, and I guess we would end up, you can defer to Ben and Quick Trip, but we were just given that second alternative at 4:30 today. So we do need some time to look at it to see if that works from a business standpoint.
Sure.
So that's all I'm saying.
I think you heard the manager say they'd make it a priority, and hopefully tomorrow you can schedule a meeting by midweek this week so we have a game plan.
That'd be great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chris, I think what I heard was that if we don't make a decision in 2 weeks, it puts the timing on this into next year.
It could put it at risk, yes.
Well, the only thing that I guess I'm making the assumption that we're going forward if we don't act, that we already have a plan. And so it would take affirmative action by the council to change it, or we keep moving forward. Is that correct?
That's correct, because at this point, we're in
So we don't have to act right now, and it would move forward. We just need to be compelled and convinced that a better solution is viable, and we would have to make that decision within 2 weeks, or it does move forward. That's my understanding.
That would be more accurate, yeah.
Mayor, Joe, anything else you want to add?
No, great comments. I believe that, you said it best. It's moving forward. We're just receiving, filing his comments, and we're going to give them one more opportunity to state something that maybe they want differently that probably should have been stated a year ago.
Thank you.
So I'll vote yes to receive and file.
Okay, Mayor, do you have anything to add? I think I hung up on him.
Losing?
Mayor, you still there?
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I think I'm the only one that hasn't said something. Most everything's been said, I think. But I'm looking forward to coming to conclusion on this. This is an issue that has been long-standing. It's an area out there on Hubble that is dangerous, and we've had multiple accidents, and I'm looking for solutions that promote public safety, and hopefully it'll accommodate a good business as well. So I'll vote yes to receive and file.
Thank you. Voting is open.
7 yes.
Thank you. We do have a second extra item, and it is imposing a temporary moratorium on the creation of new dwelling units and transient lodging with accessory buildings in residential districts. The sponsor is Councilmember Hensley, and item A would be urging caution by the Board of Adjustment, the Zoning Board of Adjustment, in considering applications for variances and exceptions to allow new dwellings and transient lodging within accessory buildings in residential districts. Again, Councilmember Hensley, would you like to speak?
I would, thank you. This comes up as a result of action we took a couple weeks ago, and I appreciate all the work that legal has done in helping us get to this point. Moratoriums are never easy, and this one was a little bit more of a challenge. So after consultation with legal and with Sherman Hill. And I don't know, Jack, if you want to say anything at this point, but. Okay. I'm going to recommend that we go forward with option A, which is urging caution by the Zoning Board of Adjustment. And this really came up as a result of an action that occurred at Sherman Hill. And we feel that this is the best alternative and is preferable to not going forward with the moratorium, but using option A, which is urging the Zoning Board of Adjustment to use caution and make sure that any such item applicant seeking relief should be strictly required to bear their burden of demonstrating that all such conditions have been satisfied. And we think that that will hopefully address the issue. It was clear that it's not been an issue of significance in other parts of the city, and that's why we're going this direction.
Excellent. Any other comments, Jack? Thank you. I thought you were declining to speak, or I would have.
Well, Jack Porter, 815 18th Street. I'm on the Sherman Hill Association board. The only comment I wanted, FYI, for the board is meeting right now as we speak and trying to consider whether to enter into a lawsuit or not with the city over this issue. And I think the neighborhood association members are split 50-50 before this even came about. But had a brief opportunity to read the brief by your Roger Brown, and I thought it was well written,
I
concise.
didn't give it to him, I just let him, I stood there while he read it.
Yeah, and that's all right. It just seemed like it outlined for the council the exact issues involved. And I would just ask the council to understand the board is under a deadline of June 30th to appeal. That's why everything is quick. So we apologize for having it as an extra item on tonight. And I think what Councilman Hensley has proposed is very appropriate.
Thank you. So that's my motion, option A.
Any other comments? Mayor, Joe?
No comments. I just haven't seen anything about it, but I'll vote yes. This got added, obviously, and I haven't seen any documentation since that left.
Joe, I believe that we were handed a document this morning at the work session, so apologies for you not having the document.
Okay. Let me make sure he gets up by email today.
Absolutely.
Mayor, did you have anything you wanted to add?
So I gotta say right
No, not at this point.
You'll know.
Okay, well, we're ready to vote. We'll open up the voting.
What is it? What's
I'm just going to pass because I haven't even read anything.
urging caution?
Yes, that's correct.
That's correct, Mayor. It's it'll turn into a communication to the Zoning Board of Adjustment.
Yes.
Yep.
And Councilman Gatto is going to pass on this because he hasn't been able to read the informational documents, and voting is in place with everybody else.
Okay, well, actually, I think at this point, I would, I'm with Councilman Gatto. I haven't read them either.
Okay, we'll mark you two down as pass. I am going to support it, and I think the vote will be 5-2. I respect your vote, not seeing the information.
Yeah, I'm sure I would be supportive. I just haven't read anything. It was never emailed to me today.
5 yes, 2 pass.
Okay, so that does pass. Thank you, Christine.
Thank
Jack,
you.
please share that with your neighbors. Any other business to come before us?
Yeah, good night, Leo.
I got to clean the kitchen.
Yeah, Joe, bless your mission trip and everybody on it.
Chris, I do have one thing. In the 3.5 years I've had the pleasure of sitting in the seat, this has been the first meeting when City Legal has not cautioned us on something. I didn't hear a word from City Legal at all.
Trust me, I did a lot today.
He knows I'm more apt to use the mallet than the permanent mayor.
I'll assure council it's all coming to you confidentially.
waiting all year to do that.
What?
Thank you.